All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us tonight on our Flight to Suburbia Zoom cocktail hour, hosted by myself and our team, the Heather Harrison team of Compass. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm Heather Harrison, and I am delighted to be your moderator tonight. Hello, everyone from Westchester. I hope everyone is obviously staying healthy and sane during these times. And since we've been sheltered in place for the past 8 weeks now, which is crazy, there has been a lot of discussion on families from the city considering moving to the suburbs for more space and more opportunities for their children to get outside in this challenging environment. I've been very blessed to be living in my single family home in Scarsdale, where we have plenty of space for me, my husband, and my dog Chase, which is running around here somewhere. My kids love playing in our backyard and swimming in our pool, which has obviously been very helpful getting through this time. Obviously there's been a lot of talk about how we will never be the same when things start to reopen, and things that people love about New York City are going to be very different. It seems like there's basically a new announcement every day happening with regards to the pandemic. My husband and I love New York City, and we lived in the city until my daughter was 2 years old, and we started to run out of space in our apartment. And even though we also love Westchester and lived there, in the pre-COVID world, we went from the suburbs into the city very often for events, to see shows on Broadway, meet a city for dinner, drinks, take my kids to museums, obviously, and love going out to nice restaurants. And we obviously look forward to that return of that world. One of the great things about the suburbs is that you're so close to the city that you don't have to give up all those great things, even when you are living in the suburbs. It's an easy 35-minute, I should say, train ride from my house. And depending on where you are in Westchester, it's really no further than an hour door to door. So I really feel like we have the best of both worlds living in the suburbs, so close to the city. Obviously, in the past few weeks, everybody's been reading these articles in the New York Times, the New York Post, on CNBC about young couples thinking about moving out of the city for the suburbs. And I thought it would be interesting to have 3 different perspectives from women who have recently recovered from COVID. 2 of them currently live in the city, and 1 resides here in my hometown of Scarsdale. So joining us today is Dr. Poonam Desai, who's an emergency room doctor in the city. She is also a dancer, a health coach, a TEDx speaker, and COVID survivor, and she currently lives in Manhattan with her husband. So today we have her joining us. And then we also have Marissa Malik, who lives in Brooklyn with her husband and her son. She grew up in Westchester. And we also have Kate Romeo, who is a beautiful 9-month-old daughter, Gabriella, and was one of the first people I knew to suffer from COVID, and was actually very helpful in documenting her experience on a local Scarsdale Moms Facebook page. She really, really shared her experiences. So it will be interesting to hear it from all of you. So let's begin the discussion. I guess first off, we'll ask, what was it like getting COVID and being quarantined in the city? So I guess I'll start. Poonam, why don't we start with you? What was it like being quarantined in your apartment? Just you and Mark alone. Obviously, you're pregnant. You're about to have a baby soon. What was it like? Was it scary? Tell us a little bit about your story.
I think if I had to use one word, it would be suffocating, because he has to work from home. Because I got COVID, he potentially could have had COVID as well. So we both had to quarantine, and neither of us could go anywhere. So that was very, very difficult, especially because you can't just walk out to your patio. You can't just walk outside. Every time we have to leave our apartment, we have to think about the elevator. We have to think about everybody we're going to cross in the hallway. And then once we get downstairs, we have to think about our doorman as well. So it wasn't as easy as just going outside for a walk, which we found pretty difficult. In terms of just getting COVID, when you are stuck in 1,000 or 900 square foot apartment, it's very hard to isolate from your partner as well. So I know I had COVID for a fact because I got tested at work, but I wasn't sure if I was going to give it to Mark. And the way our living situation is, it's not like he can go to the second floor. He can go to the next, 2 bedrooms over. We only have 1 bathroom. So again, because of all the dynamics of how close proximity we live in, it's very difficult to distance from each other. It's almost like you're probably going to give COVID to your partner in such a small space.
Definitely. Marissa, how about you? What was it like when you got sick? You got sick very early on as well, from what I understand.
I did. I got sick about the 3rd week of March, and it was very interesting. Luckily, the way that my apartment is set up, we have an in-suite bathroom in my off my master bathroom where my husband and I sleep. So basically I was quarantined to my room, and I had a bathroom, and then my husband and my son lived in the rest of our apartment. So my husband would bring me, food and drinks, but, for about 11 days, I just stayed quarantined in the room. And it was, it was obviously really hard. I was really sad and really lonely. Getting COVID is, at first you're like, is this kind of like a dream? Do I get to be like, have a little vacation from my life for a week? And then when you realize that the symptoms are just really challenging to have by yourself, it was a really tough experience. You have really bad headaches. There were times when I couldn't breathe, and not being able to have my husband come into the room and just give me a hug was, really sad. So, I wish that we would have had maybe a little more space.
Definitely, no doubt. Katie, you were up here in Westchester in your home. How did you manage? I'm sure it was very scary. You had some definitely scary moments during it, and we really appreciate you telling your story.
So my husband is also a physician, and we had a plan in place should he be exposed or get sick. And he woke up one morning and he coughed one time, and we both kind of stopped dead in our tracks and knew that it was time to put our plan into place, which was to send him down into the basement, which does have a good setup down there. There's a bathroom, there's a nice bedroom. We moved his office down there. We did all of that within about 60 minutes of his first cough. I immediately put on a mask, put on gloves, everything we could, and we were trying to not only protect me, but also our then 8.5-month-old daughter. This was March 13th, so March 12th and March 13th. And we stayed separated like that for a few days. And within a few days of him coughing, I also realized that I was starting to have symptoms as well. I was probably more aware, or, my knowing what was going on, because I knew my husband was sick, and obviously he probably had symptoms before his first cough that he didn't know about. I was hyper aware, and I immediately started to do what I could. But I still have an 8.5-month-old daughter to take care of, and nurse and do everything that she needs to do. So we continued to stay quarantined, separate in my house. I continued to take care of our baby with gloves and a mask. And for the first 4 or 5 days, my symptoms were kind of mild. And then right around day 7, 8, 9, they got pretty severe. We had a couple of scary moments here in the house, including my husband calling the ER doc and getting a pulse oximeter so that we could find out if I needed to go to the emergency room. We were trying to keep me out of that because one of us really needed to stay home and take care of our baby. And we also have 2 dogs that also require a fair amount of work. So I was pretty sick. I didn't have a chance to feel anything other than overwhelmed with being sick. There was no opportunity for boredom or anything along those lines. I actually wish I could have been bored. That would have been awesome. But instead, pretty much going full speed. And I went public with the situation on Facebook, and I was telling everyone as kind of a public service announcement, first people kind of getting sick, one of the first 500 cases. And I was overwhelmed by the positive support and outreach of the community. We're new to New York. We're new to Scarsdale. And I had hundreds of people asking if there was anything that we needed. Could they drop something off on our front porch? So that was really quite an amazing experience.
I'm glad that you had that positivity, because you just moved, to Scarsdale not so long ago, and obviously I sold you a nice house, and I think you are very new to the community, and it's got to be hard being quarantined. It's hard to even get out with your new baby and meet other people. Poonam, how about you? How did the quarantining, with Mark in your little apartment make you feel about living in the city, and did it confirm your potential move to the suburbs?
I think you know this answer very well.
I do.
Yeah, Mark wants to get out. Like, he is ready to get out. So yes, our search went full speed as soon as we were quarantined, and we've literally been looking for houses, and we can't wait to get out, only because this is probably going to continue for much longer. We don't see it ending. As a frontline worker, as an ER doctor, I definitely don't see this ending, and there's probably going to be a few more rounds that are going to come back. So we want to make sure that if we do get sick again, because we don't have the antibodies, that we're at a place where we can actually have space and quarantine for you and each other.
Great. And Marissa, what about you? Has this made you rethink at all living in Brooklyn? And obviously you grew up here in Scarsdale, and you have family here, I know, and
Yes.
Laura, of course, is on our team. But how do you think about it?
Yeah, it really hasn't. I think you have to think about what kind of couple you are and what kind of family you are and what your needs are. And for us, we're the type of family that really likes to live in an environment where there's a lot of people around us. For right now, we only have one child. So, my son doesn't have a sibling. And part of the reason that we love living in an apartment environment is because he has like a bunch of siblings living in the building. So, right now he can't play with all of them, but we do live on a cul-de-sac street in Brooklyn. We live on a dead end. So all the kids go outside and play, when it's nice out. Even when we're social distancing, we are able to go outside and play 6 feet apart, and we are able to see people, and it's reassuring. And, when I did get sick, there was so much support throughout my building, people willing to step up and send us food. And, we also just really enjoy the school that my son goes to, and the diversity. We are also the type of family that during the summer spends out east. So we do like space, but I think now we're just comfortable staying, in Brooklyn.
That's great. What's it been like living in New York City during these times? I know every night at 7 o'clock, everyone's out there applauding for the ER workers. I get the chills just watching it, on Instagram. Poonan, you posted a few great posts about it. I think, New York City has really come together in a lot of ways, and there is a tremendous sense of community. I always think, it's great to be in Westchester, but I feel like New York City has come together. Even during this difficult time, how do you think New York City is gonna change, post-COVID?
That it's a really interesting question. Both my husband and I work in Manhattan, and we're both being how we get there. We're neither of us are really ready to jump on the subway system, and so it's going to be interesting to see how we're going to get to work.